candidate forum. Everyone, if they could please take a seat, that would be great, and we can get on with the questioning. Okay, everyone have their chair in a comfortable position. I hope so. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your taking the time out to ask the individual candidates questions. Tonight's candidates forum is hosted by the Coastside County, or the Coastside County Auditors. That's where I actually sit as a director. The Half Moon Bay Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much. And this is part of the Government Affairs Committee is helping host this. You know, our job is to keep the community informed on, you know, local events and politics and how this affects our community as a whole. And here we have some candidates tonight who could potentially shape our future policies here on the coast. And we've gathered some questions from the public as a whole, and let's see what the public as a whole would like to ask our candidates here tonight. So tonight's sponsors are Half Moon Bay Review. Thank you, Clay, for your participation tonight. Myself, because I'm running unopposed this year, so at least I can participate in more of a neutral way. The CERTI team, Compass Real Estate, and Puente. Thank you very much. Rita, I know was here earlier. I don't know if she's still here. I would like to thank them also. So the candidates here to my left are running for State Assembly District 23, Tim Deck. To his left, running for County Supervisor District 3, Ray Mueller. To his left, running also for Supervisor District 3, Laura Parmer-Lohan. And in Council District number 4 for this City Council of Half Moon Bay, we have 3 candidates, starting with Bill Balson. To his left, David Eblovi. And to his left, we have incumbent Debbie Ruddock. And for Granada Community Services District, we have Barbara Dye, who is an incumbent. And for Harbor District, District 3, we have 2 candidates, Cameron Rolfe. And to his left, Kathryn Slater-Carter. Okay, are you guys ready? These questions were all received by the Coastside public. All questions will be asked of all candidates. Even if the issues do not land in their district, they may offer their thoughts and opinion. Each candidate will have 45 seconds to answer. We appreciate the community for submitting thoughtful questions. We've consolidated like questions to be sufficient with time. So our first question, the constituents of the Coastside are diversified in language. How have you ensured that those who are non-English speakers are able to learn about and understand your platform? How will you keep them in the know of local issues and ensure they are heard if elected? And going down the line to my left, starting with Tim, please.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Hi there. So in terms of keeping them informed, I think one thing that would have to happen within the first 30 days, I would open up a district office on the coast. It would be probably temporary at first, and then we'd have a permanent one within several months so that there would be access. We would have bilingual staff in that district office, and of course with today's technology, it's pretty straightforward to have multilingual explanations for all the policies. I'd have a lot of transparency on spending and where I vote on everything, and that should cover it. Thanks.
So in this campaign, I've held events for non-English speakers with translators. I've made sure to provide campaign materials in Spanish. We've actually even printed T-shirts in Spanish. We've gone to where non-English speaking residents are. So I've met with farm workers in the field. I've tried to use community ambassadors. I'd call them people who have trusted relationships in those communities. And then in terms of reaching that community, reaching non-English speakers once I'm brought into office. I am going to open an office on the coast. I will have bilingual staff members. I'm going to make sure we use culturally competent materials. It's not just providing materials in Spanish or in foreign language. It's making sure that it's culturally competent, which is something that I do in my professional life, where you actually go ahead and you make sure that you're communicating with people in a trusted manner. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Parmer-Lohan. I'm a candidate for San Mateo County Supervisor District 3. I'm a working mom and a small business owner, and I'm running because I want to represent you and all of our neighbors. I'm pleased to have been a participant in many a forum with translation, and I plan to have on staff somebody who speaks Spanish, who ideally would be a part of this community to serve as a point of contact for our non-English speakers, as well as to design programs that are accessible. I'm not interested in putting things up on the web and telling people to go visit the website. I'm interested in building relationships with community members so people understand how they can access the amazing resources that our county has to offer. So thank you so much for everybody being here today, and I look forward to working with you when I'm elected.
My name is Bill Balson. I'm happy to be able to say that my nomination papers were quite diverse, including Chinese, Korean, Hispanic, as well as Caucasian members of our community. I'm one of the few candidates that has had the entire website translated into Spanish, and I make a point of reaching out to people in their homes to have conversations. I obviously don't speak many languages. I do speak mathematics, but not too many people do that. So I'm stuck with translators. But I would continue that practice when I'm elected.
Can you hear me? Nope. Now, can you hear me? Okay. On your mark, get set, go. My name is David Eblovi. I'm running in District 4 for City Council in Half Moon Bay. I am running a, shall we say, low budget campaign, so I do not have materials in alternative languages. However, I have a history. My history includes in 2017, in January, getting and working with Belinda and I think even Joaquin at the time to get 300 people at a City Council meeting, which was the largest meeting in history to this date as well, supporting Half Moon Bay becoming a sanctuary city. And then the last thing was I was also a founding partner, if you will, in Jimenez Rarback, which was an attempt last year to move the bar forward in how we deal with public safety policing for minority communities. I did it. Your turn.
Okay.
Until Deborah Penrose and I were elected in 2014, no effort had been made to connect with our Hispanic community. There was no translation of meetings, no outreach, zero. Nothing was being done. And in the last 8 years, we've begun regular translation services at all of our meetings, including not just regularly scheduled meetings, but workshops. We have budget priority work sessions where we have special ones for Spanish speakers so that we can find out what's important to them. All of our materials, our website, are all available with Spanish translation. And we do a lot of listening at our city council meetings and circulating out in the community. I am an incumbent, so I'm very familiar with issues now that are important to them and want to continue to address their needs. So I think we're doing a great job. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara Dye with Granada Community Services District. I served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Mexico from 2010 to 2013, so I understand what it's like to be in a foreign country where it's not your native language. One of my commitments for GCSD for the future is a massive redesign of our website, which I feel could be much more visitor serving, which would include Spanish language translations for many of the things that we do. I would say we haven't done a great job, but I'm committed to doing a better job. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Cameron Rolfe, and I'm running for Harbor District. We have most of our meetings on Zoom, and we're in the techno-digit capital of the world, and it's very easy to, on a Zoom call, we know how well speech-to-text translation works, and then you can convert it to any language you want. And I'm proposing to have all of our meetings in open caption in Spanish. So if you have a Zoom meeting, you can have a speech-to-text and then have it translated in real time at no cost. So you have a Zoom meeting, you could present it in virtually real time, any language. Elect me as commissioner, and I'm going to make sure we put that into part of our program for our Zoom live meeting calls.
Thank you. Kathryn Slater-Carter, running for the Harbor District, District 3. If you go to the Harbor District website, smharbor.com or org, something like that. Anyway, you can choose any one of about 75 languages to read the Harbor District Board agendas and information in. Great way to practice other languages, including Scots Gaelic and Zulu. But we also have many people who already speak many languages because we have visitors from all over the world. So our district is pretty up to date on that and always seeking ways to interact more fully. But you can send us notes and they will get read. The issues for the Harbor District are for everyone in the county. It's not an us, they, it's ours.
No, I'd like to thank the candidates for their thoughtful answers to the first question. Even though I am running unopposed, out of fairness, I will answer that question also. My mother tongue is German. I don't get a lot of use for that at the Water District. However, if you were to call tomorrow, you could get a Spanish speaker immediately, as we do incentivize our staff to speak a second language, and we incentivize them monetarily because we feel it is very important in that a lot of our customer base is from the Hispanic community. So thank you. Moving on to the next question. How do you plan to take in your constituents' wants and needs and use them to form your policies and influence how you vote on matters before you? And going down the line, the opposite direction, we're going to start with Kathryn Slater-Carter first, please.
Thank you. I listen carefully. I'm out talking to folks all the time. But a board member, it has to be planning for 50 years out. And so we need to be looking at our budgets. We need to be looking at what the needs of not just a few people are, but the entire community. The Harbor District is, in fact, serving the entire county. So it's a matter of listening closely and then weighing it, considering it, talking to experts, and talking to staff, and then trying to make the best decision and revisiting it if necessary.
It's very simple. Here's my phone number. You got a problem, you have a question, call me on the phone. I'm going to answer it. As I walked around to the tables here, I think the representative should listen to what you want. Don't ask me what my opinion is. Don't ask me how I feel about something. You tell me how I should feel about something. You tell me how I should direct the course of the harbor and of this county. I have my little note cards, I have my pen, you tell me, and I'll represent you as what your needs and desires are. Call me on my cell phone, send me a text. Most of the people, as soon as they get into elected office, they cut up their phones. They turn off their email. I won't do that. I'll keep my phone up. It's that simple. I'll listen to your needs and wants.
Barbara Dye with GCSD. I think we've done a really good job of this. Ever since the community voted 60% in 2014 to convert to a community services district so we could add parks to our responsibilities, we've been listening to the community. We did a survey not too long after that where we got 600 responses from our small community, and we've used that to advise what we've done. We've had multiple outreach events. We just had one on the area where we're going to build the park, where we showed the styles of picnic equipment and exercise equipment and all the other things so we could get feedback from the community, and we've advertised it fully. I mean, it's never perfect, but I think we really have tried over and over to reach out to our community and get their opinion on what we're doing. And so I think we're coming up with projects that really do fit with what our community wants and needs.
So an important part of my job as a council member is listening to people's ideas and trying to help, the best ideas move forward. So I listen a lot. I was a newspaper reporter once. My job was to listen in order to develop stories. I was a project manager for the State Coastal Conservancy for 20 years. To develop a project, I had to listen to a lot of different people, a lot of different stakeholders with a lot of different interests in order to bring a project to fruition. So listening is a skill that I have, and it's actually, for me, the best part of the job is meeting with you all. And I do it a lot, and I'm very generous with my time. Before COVID, 2 council members twice a month were meeting at Pasta Moon in the back room and meeting with residents and discussing issues and that sort of thing. So I'd like to start doing that again. And I'm committed to District 4 regular meetings.
Yeah, 45 seconds is the blink of an eye. So, for those of you who know me, I got involved in 2013 with the Main Street Bridge. My cell phone number, and email address have been in the public domain ever since. And I'm rather well known for one thing, and that is engaging with people on Nextdoor. I always try to both hear what they're saying, but also reflect back how that relates to our local governance. So nothing is going to change if I am elected. I will be just as available as I have always been. And I plan to, the theme of my campaign is be a hero for one day. What I'm asking everyone to do here, you're already doing it, you're here. What I'm asking the people who aren't here to do is to start being involved in their community and not using Nextdoor as their platform for political expression or to influence public policy making. Do I have 0 or 30? I'm not going to guess I don't have 30 seconds left. Yeah.
I think that 30's for me. Hello? Yeah, my name is Bill Balson again. My approach to dealing with group decision processes is to get everybody's opinion out on the table. That's why I like surveys. Surveys aren't useful for every single purpose, but they're very helpful, particularly for getting opinions out from people that don't really want to come down to council meetings or board meetings and express their opinion. So I particularly like to get disagreements out on the table, because usually disagreements are the stuff that you can work with to make alternatives better for everybody.
My name card, Laura Parmer-Lohan, it says. So my campaign has been really grassroots from the beginning, and I really appreciate the people who are on the dais today who have low budgets that they're working with. My work is informed by you. I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations with my neighbors, and that's informed my platform of making sure that we address concerns about wildfire prevention, managing our drought, access to reproductive freedom, increasing access to healthcare on the coastside, as well protecting our open spaces and parks and forests for future generations to enjoy. We've built a coalition of welcoming inclusivity, and I'm really pleased with the support my campaign has. And I'm not backed by super PACs, big oil companies like my opponent, who has money coming in to the tune of 6 figures to support his campaign. So I'm counting on all of you to get the vote out there, and I hope to earn your vote today. Thank you.
Took a second question for a swipe at me. I don't know what she's talking about.
It's all over social media, Ray. I'm sure you're familiar.
I actually am not, and I really wish we could keep this kind.
I just want the people to know the truth, that there's
Yeah,
super PAC.
let's not go down the road of a presidential debate.
Big oil money is
yeah,
behind my opponent. You need to know this to the
Yeah,
tune of 6 figures.
let a little decorum,
figures.
please. I understand the frustrations. I know I have been involved historically in some really nasty campaigns. I totally get it. I too get frustrated. I too sometimes blurt out things that maybe best left unsaid. my sympathies go out to each and every one of you. And I totally understand, but out of respect for everyone in the room, let's just try and stay focused on the questions. Thank you.
So, going back to the question, how I'm going to keep in touch with people. So I think really what requires is actually building a relationship. When you're trying to collect community feedback, you need to be present to people in the community. So I'm going to actually open an office here on the coast. I'm going to be present in that office, and then I'm going to make sure that the county actually puts together professional outreach and data collection when there's issues that are coming before the community on the coast. And then when you do that, what's really important is that you then actually are held accountable to that. So I'll be present on the coast in that office. So if I'm not doing the job, if we're not being responsive to you, you can come and find me. Representation is about more than donuts. It's about more than trying to send an email to Redwood City and hope someone pays attention to you. And that's what's happened here for so long for so many on the coast. We're going to change that.
Hi, everybody. You know, I wanted to say this at the beginning. It's so nice to be with people rather than sitting in front of a screen doing a Zoom forum. So this is wonderful. And this is the kind of thing we want to do, to reach out and hear about talking to people. Again, yes, also having an in-district office, spending time myself over here in the office, having in-person meetings like this. I would like to keep you informed with a regular newsletter on what's going on. State legislation can be fast-moving and very complex. I'm going to have somebody in the office interpreting what's coming down the pipe so you're aware of it, because it can fly through, and I want to make sure I get feedback from you on things that are coming at us so I can best represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I have a question for everyone in the room. Who heard of Zoom pre-pandemic? a few of you were tuned in, and you probably bought the stock, I hope. So Zoom has really allowed participation in the public process. You know, we now have cameras, we have monitors. They're there to stay. So now you can participate in a meeting second Tuesdays, 7 o'clock, at any time you feel, from the luxury of your couch, or you can come actually visit us in person. Our boardroom is now open. We are now accepting audience members, or you can come in through Zoom, and that is how we stay in touch. You know, and we have some really big issues before us. We historically have been a pay-as-you-go district. Our capital improvement program over the next 10 years is in a neighborhood of $70 million. I'd like to hear from people. I know I have thoughts on how we should finance it. Pay-as-you-go or bonds. It's going to be a very, very big vote that we're going to make, and I would like to hear from the public. So I'm available. Give me your thoughts. Thanks. So next question. How do you plan to be transparent with your constituents on matters of budget and policy? So going down the line to the returning, we're starting with Tim, please.
All right. Well, in terms of budget and transparency, kind of spoke to it previously. We would definitely want to put it up on the website in terms of where our budget is, in terms of our staffing, in terms of what we're voting on, as well as, again, what's coming at us that we're going to need to make decisions on. I think that's very important. You stay informed. And if you aren't coming to the site or coming to the office to find out about it, I will be reaching out to you and letting you know that through both Zoom-based telephone forums and a regular newsletter to keep you up to date as to what's going on in the office.
So this is an interesting question, because it's not just about it's not just about having a newsletter. So I've been a chief of staff to a county supervisor, and there's lots of different ways you reach out to your constituents. You do a newsletter. You meet with editors of newspapers. You go ahead, you send out email blasts. You use every different way of communicating. But that's not what's important. What's important is taking the steps to be transparent in what the data means. It means slicing up the data so you can tell your constituents how much of that budget is coming from them in tax dollars that you're actually giving back to them. One of the things that happens here in the county is that there's a lot of tax dollars that comes from the cities to the county, and then the county gives it back to the cities. Unincorporated county, and actually, not in every case, the cities even know how much money in that county budget is coming to them. We're going to change that when I get elected. You're going to know what's coming back to you from the tax dollars you give the county.
So I think transparency is really important, and that takes many forms. So one is I want to let you know that PG&E approached me and offered to make a contribution to my campaign, and I declined. I'm not a fan of PG&E, and I think that they need to work harder to earn the trust of our community. My commitment to you is that I will be transparent. I'll hold regular town halls with you. You have all received my business card tonight with my direct phone number that goes straight to me, not a chief of staff or a staff person, but to me. I'm available to you. I'm accessible to you. I work for you. You're my boss. And that's what's informed my approach to this work. I'll also work hard because I've heard communication from the county could be better. I have great experience in communication programs, and we'll tackle this from every angle to make sure that you stay informed and are kept abreast and included in the decision input process. In addition, I encourage you to look at IE Expenditure Report 496 on the super PAC that I mentioned earlier tonight. Big Oil is behind my opponent. I want you to be aware of this.
Thank you. We are at 0-0. Thank you.
Hi again. My name's Bill Balson. Transparency is actually pretty easy. You just have to have the top decision makers want to provide it to people, and often they don't. I've spent the better part of a year trying to get documents that are publicly available or supposed to be, and just this morning got one that I had requested many, many months ago. At Ocean Colony, we have a 30-year plan. I think the city should have a 30-year plan, list all of the assets, all of the maintenance, all the future obligations, so that the citizens can see what the commitments are on policies. I think when policies are brought before the city council, there should be alternatives, not just the staff's recommendation.
My experience has been a little bit different. I'd like to claim that I filed more Public Records Act requests with the city than anyone else, but I haven't. Unfortunately, there's one person who has beat me. However, the city has gotten much better at filling Public Records Act requests, and as much as I'm running against the mayor, and I'd like to say they're awful and they're doing a bad job, they're not. And I can show this by last October beginning to request documents from the city because the city was pursuing a bridge project on the Main Street Bridge, again, to replace it, again, that was going to cost $14 million. I would say again, but last time it was $8 million. And that I was able to bring to an end, basically by putting a cease and desist letter to the city on the first of the year. Within 6 weeks, the bridge project had been ended. And that's how transparency works, and that's how I would continue to want to see it work. Did I go over, or was it? Keep it up.
So 8 years ago, the city council started budget priority listening sessions. We held 3, 4, 5 of these as a prelude to setting the budget, and we had separate Spanish speakers only meetings. We followed those up with workshops on draft budgets. And we had the opportunity at multiple meetings to evaluate alternatives and take public input. And that's a great improvement over how things were being done by what we call the old guard prior to 2014. We publish all of our financial records online. The ones that typically are not online are administrative drafts, communications between department heads, that sort of thing. Those are the sort of things that Bill's been trying to get. And they're not required to be given under the Public Records Act, although we occasionally do for the purposes of transparency. One of the things I've suggested is a Citizens Financial Advisory Committee.
Yeah, we're just bumping up against time, sorry.
Hi. At the Granada Community Services District, we do all our financial discussions, at our meetings online. I think it's pretty transparent. We publish the budget and so forth on our website. We try to engage the community. In fact, tomorrow night at granada.ca.gov, we're going to have a presentation on the proposed design for our new community center, which we're very excited about. It's only an information one. Then we're going to have outreach events and solicit community input and so forth so that we can really hear from the community on that project. And I think that's been our pattern. We try to propose things, get community input, and then move forward with some exciting things that we're doing. Thanks.
I've had more fun sitting here talking to you and filling out my little 3.5 by 5 inch cards. I've got seawall yes, seawall no, dredge a harbor yes, dredge a harbor no. And it's interesting because it's a one-on-one, and I'm thinking what I should get is a little Samsonite folding chair and set it up down there by the harbor with a little tent and a little sign once a month, because a lot of people don't want to stand in a Zoom call or stand up at a meeting in a public forum and voice their concern. They're a little timid. So I'm thinking one-on-one, and I prefer to see you face-to-face than to talk to you on a telephone or a Zoom call. So I'm thinking I'm going to get my little stadium chair, my little fold-up tent, my little 3.5 by 5 inch cards, and listen to what you want. There's my transparency. There's my contact.
Wow, thank you. Budgets. Most people don't care about budgets. There's only a few folks who do. And I would not want to send a lot of paper and a lot of email and a lot of stuff to people who don't care. The budgets are on the website. I think it's important to advertise that, and I think that budgets are an integrative process. It's going to be a really interesting process this year. The Harbor District started the budgets in June, but with the inflation that we are seeing, things are not going to be as planned. And so it is important for those who do care to get in touch. And any and all of the board members are available, as is the staff. And go to SM Harbor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really proud of our website. I think when I was elected, we were still in the 19th century at CCWD. We are now firmly in the 21st century. If it's not on our website, you can call us, but I can guarantee our phone won't be ringing because it is on the website. We are incredibly transparent. And as far as our budgeting, we are now in the process, the 218 process, which is mandated by Prop 218. We are very incredibly transparent, and the timing couldn't be better. Right at our next meeting, for like I said, the first Tuesday of every month, we will be airing our planned rate increase for the next 2 years, supported by our 10-year capital improvement program. So it's all there for the public to see. Thank you. So the next two I can skip. Yeah, because I did kind of do a mental count, and it's going to be a long evening, and I really so good idea. Thank you. So that takes us to this. I definitely have a feeling on this one. What is your position on the Dark Skies Initiative? Will you take it into consideration when voting on development projects? And we're going to start with Kathryn.
Yes, I think I would take it into consideration. I followed the problems with the fire building in El Granada, and I have also listened to things in the County Board of Supervisors, projects that were being developed that had enormous amounts of light. The Board of Supervisors actually ruled in favor of dark skies. This was 15 years ago. I believe it's an important thing, and I believe everyone, both from your house and whatever business or government organization you're involved in, should be taking care of having dark skies. Thank you.
Part of dark skies has to do with construction. What are we building? Why are we adding more lights? I'm sorry. I think we're done. I don't want to add any more traffic to Highway 1. I don't want to add any more traffic to Highway 92. They're talking about, gee, if we're going to build more stuff, how are we going to light it? They talk about how are we going to light for construction. I'm sorry. I think we have overtaxed ourselves out here. I want to curtail the construction. Sorry if you're a developer or a land person or a real estate person. I apologize. I think we've got plenty of lights already. Maybe change the color. It's like those halogen headlights that coming and glaring at you in the face. I think we should tone down the lights we have a little bit. We don't need these harsh, bright lights. Maybe a little softer lights, like we have in the cosmetics, make it look No, dark skies, absolutely. No lights. Pretty easy.
Yes, we've already discussed with our architect that this will be a factor in both our park and our community center.
I totally support it. From my home, I can see the nurseries light up the sky at night. There's big lights at the high school. I can see those. And out my bedroom window, I can see the lights at Smithfield. And none of those lights are aiming downward. And there's technology that will allow you to address this problem and should be done. So we need to require it in our development standards. We do for many uses, but not all, so we need to change that. But yeah, my time's up.
Really? No, it says 30 seconds. Keep going. You're not done.
Moving right on. You're starting me at 30? No. So Mayor Ruddock kind of stole my thunder there. I think before we talk about dark skies and new construction or development projects, it's worth noting that, first of all, the council is not, as a matter of course, voting on development projects unless they've been appealed or something has happened. The second thing is, before we do anything, we should talk about that big ball of light that sits from the nurseries up north every night. We used to live in Miramar when we first moved here, and it was like having a moonlit night the entire time. And so I don't know what legislative possibilities there are there, but that is by far and away the largest light polluter in the community, and I think that's where you start. So.
My name again is Bill Balson. You know, I was a navigator in my younger years on a naval vessel, and the majesty of the dark skies is truly amazing to behold. About half our population has never experienced that, and it's a real shame. The technology to improve it is still in the early stages. At Ocean Colony, we replaced our street lights a few years ago, and they're all capped so they don't do light pollution. The technology for homeowners is available as well, so it's well worthwhile for people to do that.
I'm in support of the Dark Skies Initiative and have done some work in the city of San Carlos around our parks and fields with replacing lights with things that are more efficient as well as less spill that are actually timed to just for the duration of play and allow people to get back to their homes safely. So, and I got quite an education from Kathleen on the many implications on this, and look forward to learning more from her about the many aspects of this. It's far-reaching. It's not just about looking at the Milky Way, but it also impacts many ecosystems and animals and insects in our community and people too. So, thank you.
So yeah, so I am supportive of the Dark Skies Initiative and take it into consideration, which predominantly it affects wildlife, it affects birds, it affects mating, the mating of birds and migration. And I do, unfortunately, going to have to speak to what I've been attacked about. So as based on our last comment, it appears my opponent's attacking me over an independent expenditure committee. But she knows I don't have any control over an independent expenditure committee. I can't even talk to an independent expenditure committee. It's not controlled by my campaign. And I'm grateful in this race to be solely endorsed by the Sierra Club and every member of the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space Board of Directors. I'm a graduate of the College of Natural Resources, and I take very seriously my commitment to the environment. And I really hope the attacks tonight stop.
Yeah, it's Tim Deck, State Assembly. So may not have direct impact on this, but I'm going to give you my thoughts. I am supportive of dark skies. It does affect ecosystems. It also does affect just the quality of light in the area. Light pollution is everywhere. We need to use timed lighting. We need to use motion sensors, downlighting, while keeping in mind proper safety that would need to be in place for making sure there is lighting to make sure people are safe on redevelopment or new development. So I am supportive of that. Thank you.
So I'm going to use this opportunity to make a personal plea to my neighbor. Could you please turn your lights off? The reflection off the fog is horrific. So it affects all of us. So no, this was really, when I initially read the question, I wasn't quite sure what it was, but it it kind of made sense. Yeah, and this is really was a timely question, and I want to thank everyone for their thoughtful answers. Yeah, who would have thought that lighting would be a political issue? Anyway, thank you. So, next one. How do you plan to work with Half Moon Bay Airport and its officials to assess leaded fuel levels of the surrounding areas, its impacts, and conversion to unleaded fuel? Going to my left, Tim, please.
Okay, I know actually this has been a big issue in Santa Clara for both SJC and Reed Hillview, where they're basically banning leaded fuels. We certainly need to monitor what's going on right now in terms of the lead output from the fuels there. I know there is a replacement for at least 70% of airplanes that can be used now. It's a little bit more expensive, but I think we can make that available for aviators. And also, I know there is one that isn't commercially available that would fit for all planes. So I think we should transition as soon as possible to minimize the lead exposure to the surrounding areas. There's no minimum level that's acceptable, and we need to transition as quickly as possible. Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, I do support obviously the transition to unleaded, but I think what's really most important for the community, and the thing that I hear most from people who live near the airport right now, is that they expect the county to go out and actually do testing and try to figure out how much of that lead is in the soil around the airport and how much is it, if it has migrated to the communities around the airport. And so we can actually, and be transparent about that with the community, so we can have that discussion together and talk about the public health of our community. Thank you.
In the city of San Carlos, we have an airport, and I've actually actively worked with community members whose lives are disrupted by the flight patterns and the noise, and leaned in very early to that conversation, even though it wasn't part of my official jurisdiction, working with county management and airport management to make sure that the community concerns were heard and acted upon. And I'm really proud of that work, and I expect to carry that through to this role when elected to supervisor. It's important to note that the county is actually suing Big Oil because of their damage to the environment. And so one of the things I'd want to look at is if this airport issue is a part of that, because we often know that community members who are often historically not represented or excluded fall under these flight patterns. And so that's been brought to my attention. I also want to take a look at that. I will not be bought. I work for you, and I hope to earn your vote tonight. Thank you.
Hi, my name again is Bill Balson. You know, lead is a deadly pollutant. It's not something to mess around with, and I think that needs to be understood by everybody. I was the head of the environmental risk group in the consultant company that I became president of eventually back in the 80s and 90s. And so I have extensive experience with working with pollution of this type and finding the minimum solution, minimum cost solution to get the best benefit.
So I was just going to say I don't plan on working with the county because it's so far out of our jurisdiction. But I happen to be a commercial pilot, and anyone who's going to work on this problem needs to understand the regulatory framework under which airports operate in the United States. The Federal Aviation Administration and the federal government own everything from the surface up. So literally the air they see that we're in this building, anything above it belongs to them. San Jose, communities around San Jose, we think we have it tough here. Go to Reed Hillview. The houses are literally at the end of the runway. This is an intractable problem, and it's not one that we're going to legislate out of existence for Half Moon Bay Airport, because we don't have, and the county doesn't have, the statutory authority to do that. So I'm all for finding solutions to do it, but we're not going to do it locally. We can't ban airplanes from landing at the airport because they don't burn the type of gas that we want them to. Thank you.
I basically agree with David. However, I sit in the City-County Association of Governments, and we have some land use authority over the local airports like San Carlos and Half Moon Bay. And we also vote on resolutions passed by the Airport Land Use Committee. So it's important to elevate the issue to this body so that we can at least have a discussion, which can then be elevated to state legislators and our federal legislators. So there's a pathway to at least elevating discussion for the issue. So I'm happy to help that along.
I think this is an important issue, and I will leave it in the capable hands of the jurisdictions that actually have some say over this matter. It's something I care about, but.
I'm going to tell you a secret. If you promise it doesn't leave this room, I'm a 6,000-hour pilot. I know all about the fuel and the lead. It is a scare tactic to get you to be afraid to close down the airport. So the county commissioners can put 3,000 homes at Half Moon Bay Airport. Everybody in this room grew up with cars with leaded fuel, and I don't think anybody in this room is brain damaged or affected in any way. They're using this low lead contamination as a scare tactic for you to want to shut down the airport and build homes. Don't be fooled by it. They want to close the airports, and that's what they're doing in Santa Clara to get you to say, get rid of the airport. Here's a choice. You want the airport, or you want 3,500 homes placed there. It's easy as that. Don't fall for the scare.
There is probably lead. I'm on the Montero Water and Sanitary District. We have wells on the airport. We have water quality testing done several times a month, and we have our annual overall water quality tests done. We test each one of our wells. We do not have lead in our water. There may be lead on the ground and in the dust. It may be running into the harbor. But I remember when RCD worked on the water quality reports with the Harbor District in doing some long-term planning, lead was not a problem. They tried to blame dogs, but really it was probably the deer and the raccoons, but that's a whole nother topic. We should be looking at lead, but let's let the county do it. It's their job.
We too at Coastside County Water District have 2 sources of water in proximity to the airport. And yes, we are under the same testing requirements as our neighbor to the north, and no, we are not detecting any lead in our source waters. Thank you. Okay, next question. Do you support the one shoreline proposal to remove the outer seawall? And this will start with the candidates for Harbor District. Kathryn, please.
We were discussing how about the lead issue over here, and I'm sure we both missed the question.
Oh,
What?
Do you support the one shoreline proposal to remove the outer seawall?
Oh, hello, no. First of all, it's under federal jurisdiction. I talked to One Shoreline today at the Harbor District Commission meeting, and there are things that One Shoreline can do to help, but removing the wall would take an act of Congress. So good luck to that. There is an ecosystem in the harbor already with endangered species there. The Harbor District is going to be dredging, moving the eelgrass, and making the harbor deeper and safer. There are other things that we can do, and frankly, there are better solutions than removing the seawall to fix the erosion on Highway 1. So there's lots of work to be done, but no, it's a harbor of refuge. People come into that harbor for safety. If we got rid of it, people's lives would be at risk.
I have 1 tear the seawall down. I now have 6 keep the seawall up. That's going to be 7 on the seawall. Yes. See how politics works? I think keep the seawall. Sorry, who I spoke to that said tear it down. You're 7 against 1 in this room. So I guess if I'm elected, we're keeping the seawall. That simple.
I don't really have a strong opinion on this because I haven't paid a lot of attention to this issue, but I'm a dedicated environmentalist, do a lot of work with Coastside Land Trust on local land preservation and so forth, and I am sure that this will get resolved in a way that I hope works for everyone. I'd like to know more about it, actually.
Don't believe what you hear on Nextdoor. I am on One Shoreline. I am the vice chair of One Shoreline, and I can tell you that One Shoreline has No proposal, no project. All there is a study using the harbor's own coastal engineer to consider long-term fixes for the harbor under extreme sea level rise scenarios. As my agency is subject to the Brown Act, I can't communicate an opinion. I don't have an opinion. I do listen to the community. I listened to the community at the Harbor District meeting this afternoon. I heard what they said about the breakwater. I'm happy to take those comments back to my own board, but we've approved nothing, and we're not likely to approve anything for some time because all stakeholders have to approve a project. So nothing's happening. Rest assured.
No wonder I didn't know much about it.
Yeah, so this is going to be very quick. I don't know how you answer a question honestly that lacks any substance, context, substance, reality. There is no proposal to remove the breakwater. Folks, the sea's rising. We know that. We need to look at what we're going to do with it. This is politics at its best. I'll end it there.
Again, my name is Bill Balson. Both Debbie and David are absolutely wrong. The general manager of the Harbor Board spent about 15 minutes just this afternoon at the board meeting reviewing in detail the work of One Shoreline and the communication between One Shoreline and the Harbor Board and found them deficient. He went through the project description in detail that One Shoreline has put forward, and it is missing 3/4 of the problem. It's focused on one issue and one issue only, and that's where the sand deposits, and not anything at all to do with the things that matter to people around the harbor.
So I think that there's not a whole lot more to say about this. I think you appreciate how complicated the issue is. There's multiple jurisdictions involved in this particular area: federal government, county, state, city. In addition, the seawall was put up to create a harbor so the fishing industry could thrive. And what that's done is it's done its job, and it's diverted the waves, and then the sand is coming into the harbor and it's collecting there, and it's not flowing south to replenish the beaches. And so that's why we have erosion on State Highway 1. So the task at hand is to try to figure out how to replenish the sand in an eco and environmentally friendly manner, to do so safely and with all of these different needs in mind. So I'm looking forward to working with the community to get the job done when elected, and I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
So I'm going to be a little more direct, and I'm also going to be nicer to my colleagues and say I'm going to leave the One Shoreline part out of it and the proposal of it. I'm just going to say I don't support removing the breakwater or outer seawall.
Yeah, so this is probably way out of my wheelhouse as a state assembly person, but from what I understand of it, it seems like there has been an ecosystem there built up over the last 60 or 70 years since it's been built. It does provide safe harbor. I understand there's mitigation strategies for the movement of sand and so forth that can be handled. And whatever is best, it sounds like it would be good to leave it as is.
Yeah, by definition, the harbor is meant to provide refuge to vessels. I would not want to diminish that in any way. And personally, I am in support of dredge the harbor. I just wish it would happen. You know, we keep hearing it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Let's dredge the damn thing and at least give it a shot. Thank you. Yeah, and we are getting, there's some good ones here. So traffic, crime, unhoused. 3 really, really hot button ones. Yeah, I think post-punkin festival, I'm with you. Okay. What ideas do you have on helping the daily traffic and emergency evacuation needs of the community on the two highways? And we're going to start from my left. Tim, please.
All right. Well, so traffic I know is snarled here, especially on the weekends, and it's getting that way during the week too. I know there are plans to do roundabouts to help mitigate some of that. I also know that there should be, I think there was a question about emergency. Yes. So there should be a plan in place for the kinds of emergencies you're going to see here, whether it be tsunami, whether it be fire. That should be propagated out to the community so they understand what to do when certain things happen because of the limitations you have here on egress, both up and down the coast and over the hill. That is really important to be figured out. That's what I have to say. Thanks.
So we need express shuttles on the coast. They don't have to be the large buses you see on the other side, but we need smaller express shuttles on the coast. Do support looking at roundabouts. We need evacuation routes created through our fire breaks, which I think is really important. With respect to public health, one of the issues we have right now on the coast is a lack of medical care. And that's really problematic at peak hours. So we have to develop public health and invest in that on the coast and get us a good solid emergency care. And then we really need to invest in protecting our neighborhoods from cut-through traffic, which is somewhat tangential to the issue, but is a real problem on the coast right now during those peak hours. And then long-term, and I know they're different, but I am actually very interested in looking at a gondola system or something like that to bring people over the hill out of their car. Thank you.
So from my perspective, I think we have to tackle this from a number of different angles. Recently, we lost too many community members who were being hit. They were hit by cars or trucks, and they lost their lives. They were on their bikes. And micromobility, especially in this area, I think is really important. So I think we need to build out our pedestrian and bike pathway infrastructure to make it safe for local community members to be able to get around. I personally gave up riding my bike and because it's just not safe. And I took action around that. In City Council in San Carlos last year as mayor, we adopted one of the most comprehensive bike and master ped plans and actually started building it out during the pandemic. So you have my commitment that I'll look at that. Also, emergency preparedness is really important, and I have this whole endorsement of CAL FIRE because of my commitment to keeping the community safe, and I look forward to working with you to make sure that we find ways to reduce traffic, including increasing public transportation options. Thank you.
My name is Bill Balson again. I'm the only candidate that is willing to tackle traffic congestion head on. There are things that we can do to relieve traffic congestion without inducing growth. When I brought this up at a city council meeting recently, my opponent said, "We ain't gonna widen the roads, get over it." And then she said it twice for effect. That's her approach to inclusiveness, I think. We can take Route 92, we can add shoulders to make it safer. We could add a middle lane for emergency vehicles and left turn lanes. That's not going to substantially alter the highway itself, but it'll make it safer. We have 403 accidents in the last 3 years on that route.
This is going to be kind of stream of consciousness because unlike the last item, I have a lot to say. Let's start with, I'm the only candidate up here who has actually worked with Caltrans on an actual project, Caltrans District 4, District 4? Yeah, wow, okay. And that was the Main Street Bridge. I've had to move mountains with Caltrans. We can't do anything to Highway 92. It doesn't belong to us. However, we can work with Caltrans to try to get a barrier up there to improve something. To do what Mr. Balson is proposing would require doubling the size of the road, and that's not going to happen. Not because we don't want it to happen, but because it's not going to happen. 2 years ago during the fire, the CZU fire, there was a next door thread. It was the biggest one I ever had. There were almost 700 comments on it before it was done. I was giving people evacuation advice, having been a former firefighter, on where we can go on the coast side. We should not be evacuating out Highway 1 or Highway 92 period. There are plenty of safe refuges here that we need to look at. This is a complex topic, and we all want it to go away, and we're all angry about it, but we need to be realistic about it as well.
So first off, I would support restricting quarry truck traffic to only nighttime hours and get them off the road during the day. And I think that's doable working in our newly elected District 3 supervisor. I would continue to prioritize projects like the completing of the Highway 1 East Side Trail from El Granada to Moon Ridge, aggressive construction of bike lanes, and successful completion of the Samtrans microtransit pilot project, which will start in 2023. Now, I want to tell you, the construction, back 20 years ago, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a proposal to widen Highway 92 to 4 lanes from 280 to the top of the hill and to straighten Highway 92 from Half Moon Bay to the climbing lanes. The construction estimates at the time were $200 million for the 4-lane section and $100 million for the straightening project. The additional mitigation costs were huge and were never finalized. Those projects ended up on the shelf, awaiting the money ferry, which never came. So in addition to being costly, widening roads does not solve congestion. It just invites more cars. Thank you.
Yes, I hate the traffic. It's a real problem here. We all do. El Granada, we have a ton of cut-through traffic whenever it gets clogged on Highway 1, then they clog El Granada. There's 2 things that we can contribute to this directly. One is through the park, we're planning to construct the multimodal trail, which will provide an option for people to travel down the coast side on a separate bicycle lane. And our community center, we are planning to set up as a potential respite site for problems that we have in the community. So it would be the only place between Half Moon Bay and Pacifica where there would be a public facility that would have a generator that could deal with issues when there's an emergency. So 2 little pieces that we could do. I don't know how to solve the other problems.
I think it's interesting that my deputies, friends of mine who are deputies with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, they noticed when the tsunami showed up, the traffic problem was 92 westbound because everybody wanted to come and see the big wave. And everybody in Half Moon Bay, they ran away and hid, and they said, we can't have traffic control because they're all coming down 92. Every time I travel 92, I always hold my breath about 3 places. One of them at the top of 35. And I'll tell you something. We solved the Highway 17 in Santa Cruz, the 152 Casa de Fruta. You know something? We don't have to widen 92. We just have to take those. Every time we come up 35, it's like, please don't have an overturn, right? Let's widen those like passing lanes or something. So if there is a collision or if there is a traffic stop, we're not backed up all the way to the lakes. And I'll tell you something else. Can we get Samtrans to drag some buses up and down 92? I think that would solve a lot of problems. And stop building. There won't be any more traffic.
Thank you. I left with every table with some of my flyers. One of the important things in the mission statement for the Harbor District is to have emergency response and public access. It is a central part for the coast, but it can't do anything about the traffic. We have lots of parking. Montero Water and Sanitary, at one of our recent board meetings, we lost Harold Herman in Montero, who was a dear friend and activist on the community. It was a tragic accident. We need traffic to slow down. Montero is going to be asking everyone to join us in going to the Board of Supervisors and Caltrans and getting the speed limits reduced on the coast side. And the roundabouts are not just a wannabe. The community has been working, trying to get the county and Caltrans to put in the roundabouts for years. Beyond that, every time there's a big project, there are traffic and road mitigations that are supposed to be put in. They always get deferred because they cost the developer too much money. Make this happen. Slow the traffic down and put in the roundabouts. Thank you.
Yeah, having grown up on Highway 92, I remember we used to look at the 152 and 17 as the dangerous roads. We have now become that dangerous road here. Certainly slowing it down. Yes, 35 is a little scary. When I hit that intersection, even I do slow down because, boy, you just never know. You don't want to get T-boned. I've seen enough of them up there. Big fan, having traveled. Roundabouts work. They work. Why there is any opposition is beyond me. If they're working in every other country of the world and are even working, in various communities around the state, why we can't bring them to our community is beyond me. Thank you. Call it a night, or? Once again,
Thank you.
we would really like to thank each and every one of you. We'd like to thank the candidates for taking the time out, and thank you very much.